Meanwhile, the fallout continues from that now infamous call for the president and the former vice president.
This situation involving Joe Biden's sons work for this Ukrainian oligarch-owned gas company, which is, I have to quibble with some of what your previous guest said, is a significant liability for Joe Biden. Like, there is a story here. We've told some of it. There's more to be told.
So let's take a closer look tonight with the author of Power Grab, Jason Chaffetz, and former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Harry Litman. Gentlemen, welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that statement there from Ken Vogel, who now works for the New York Times, has previously written about this topic for Politico as well. But Jason, tonight, the vice president saying it's not a big deal. It's going to go away. He says no credible, objective media source is actually digging into this.
Well, Mr. Vogel, the New York Times and Politico are somewhat credible along the way. And just look at the videotape. I want people to watch the videotape of Joe Biden talking about how he helped get this prosecutor dismissed. He had 6 hours. If you had any questions, call Barack Obama. And the fact about Hunter Biden, both in China, but especially in Ukraine, did he or did he not make $50,000 a month? Was he involved and engaged with this company that suddenly got these contracts, what appear to be days or just a couple of weeks after the vice president visited?
And not a lot of people have been digging into this story, and Ken Vogel has a little bit of a theory on that as well. Here are some additional comments from him.
If we were to just perform a thought exercise here and replace Joe Biden with Donald Trump and Hunter Biden with Eric Trump or Donald Trump Jr., we probably would be seeing more coverage of this story.
Harry, is that fair?
Well, look, it's what he said in a stray way 6 days ago on a show. Then he wrote 2 days ago, and this is his real reporting. It said that, in fact, the president is just trying to deflect attention, that, in fact, he reiterates, as has the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, there's nothing here to indicate, no evidence has there ever been to indicate Biden has done anything wrong. Biden acted in accord with the Ukraine opposition, but also the EU, the United States, et cetera, and importantly, this all happened over a year after the prosecutor had done his investigation of the company that Hunter Biden was working for. So we just have to separate two things. One, was Hunter supposed to be working there or not? You can try to look more into that, but the notion that there's anything right now to stick to Biden is fanciful. It's just complete conspiracy theory stuff.
Well, in the meantime, there have been many people who have written on it. We mentioned New York Times and Politico. Ken Vogel wrote about it. John Solomon, who has gone after presidents on both sides of the aisle, he has written about this as well. So there's been a lot of digging on this, and we're told there is more to come. In the meantime, Andrew McCarthy, you all know him well, former U.S. attorney himself, has written about this. He calls it a double standard. He says, see, this is the way the game's played. When the Obama administration leans on Ukraine for help in investigation of political opponents, which he says happened back in 2016, the Democrats and the media say, but look how corrupt Paul Manafort was. When the Trump administration leans on Ukraine for helping in an investigation of political opponents, the Democrats and the media say abuse of power, impeach him. Jason?
Can I speak to go ahead.
But that's exactly right. You have the radical left hyperventilating, the resistance movement, I think, pushing Nancy Pelosi to places that previously she hasn't wanted to go. But remember, the Democrats already foreshadowed this. They already foreshadowed this a long time ago, that this is exactly what they were going to do in their playbook. I think the way they're treating Donald Trump is abhorrent. It is just fundamentally wrong to have somebody without firsthand knowledge as a whistleblower, to the point that the speaker is saying there's a formal impeachment inquiry when people haven't even talked, don't even know who the whistleblower is, and they haven't even talked to anybody who has firsthand knowledge. Compared to Joe Biden, who's on videotape bragging about the fact that he twisted the arms of the Ukraine government to get rid of the prosecutor that just happened to be looking at the company that his son is ultimately involved in. Come on.
Harry, I know you wanted to talk about that double state.
I do, but I want to talk about the congressman's facts. He was not looking at, was Shoten, anything about the company that had happened a year before. And again, the premise of McCarthy is what the problem is. Biden is acting at the behest of the international community, not for his own purposes. But the whistleblower, quickly, I'm a whistleblower
But
lawyer.
come on, he
It
took
happens.
money into his son's
Excuse me,
pocket.
Congressman. Excuse me, Congressman. I'm speaking now. I'm a whistleblower lawyer. It's routine for whistleblowers to come forward with information that's secondhand, thirdhand. That's not only
But
proper
that didn't
under the
used
law,
to be the
it's expected.
policy in the intel
Oh,
community.
no, it is. Then you
It
have
didn't used to be.
Then you have to assess the evidence, of course, but the notion that it's secondhand, that's a routine fact about whistleblower accusations.
All right. We got to leave it there for now, but come back.
Thank
There
you.
will be much more to discuss on this topic, I am sure. Harry and Jason, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason.
Thank